Currently, what influences our members is politics. So, but what I most of them are already affiliated.
These consultations that are supposed to be done in quarter meetings is something like people are being told that there's going to be a constitutional court, and in such a manner you are not consulting people, you are just informing them or telling them.
So, it is not rather symbolic.
Botswana has long been regarded as one of Africa's most stable democracies. For decades, its constitution has guided governance, protected rights, and shaped national identity. Now, the government proposes a significant change, the establishment of the Constitutional Court.
Cyber sentence here, can't deliver so highly relaxing for a relaxing, make a cat relaxing, Ubuela, O court of appeal, Ubara, Bona, or have a land relaxing, Bar, Level, Barakiwa, or Taro, who said it. Poso, won't say about a book, say that's an Akabat as in Uj 3 Mala, Tiabu Zero Java. Ulomoki Zulu, 8 and let's see. Yet channel of Zaka Udwets in Munanya. Yo wants him more mocharing you are Radio Kumabula that is the time. Ramosa. Molatua away the hell of Kimusa. What was seeking? Hamuta Tokahala. Moha Buroni, Iloam, Hala, Ohito, Pohabo, Kumala, Haba. Vamos a Ryan, Tuata, Ohito, Koki Tolehan, Cometiamanu, Como Tome, Kokugam, Koko, Pe. Makota Risabar, when I have Katua Bonachanilu, Kahuli, Otoma Constitutional Court, Kihuaraba Dilo, Sedi sets in Dilete, Sedi Tramukomora, Haki ready to Leva Beliza, Kahuna Upe, Yo Haneza, Hai, Kahuna Mabaka, Apelka Haneza and Gao, for a Constitutional Court, Ya Tokala, Molehatsin, Labutra, Hayo, no common sense, Hayo. Mogo de Mola, Kayo, Mositu, live whatever you realize, Habari, Kaya, Siama, and I took
Democracies are not defined only by institutions, but how those institutions are discussed, debated, and understood. The Constitutional Court may shape Botswana's legal future, but the integrity of the conversation shaping it will define its democratic present.
The thing about the Constitution, ke molao motheo, ke one foundation ya matshelo a Botswana, ya Botswana e leng gore re tshela mo go ene. So ha re bua ka molao motheo, go botlhokwa gore Botswana botlhe, from citizen number 1 to Wanake or 4 years old. Maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, but from the highest level to the lowest level, mongwe le mongwe tshwanetse ra tlhaloganya gore molao motheo ke eng and wama matshelo a Botswana ka mokgwa o ntseng jang. The reason I start with that before I move into the Constitutional Court ke gore when we talk about capacity to speak on these issues, everybody needs to be educated about them, right? There's been examples in our past where we've had a healthcare crisis and the nation has taken vehement steps to make sure what are the myths, what are the truths. COVID, what are the prevention ways, what are the ways that we can protect ourselves once we've been unfortunate enough to contract the virus. So a similar methodology needs to be taken with all things constitutional.
So Congo does not in any way oppose the establishment of a constitutional court. Maybe the constitution review process 2024 that had failed in initiated the past government. We had actually recommended establishment of a constitutional court, recognizing and realizing that it can actually enhance Botswana's democracy, serving as the apex of constitutionalism. But the organization's stance is that a constitutional court should be born out of a comprehensive review of the constitution of Botswana. Currently, we have not reviewed the constitution. It still has the gaps that are there. There are still limitations in bills of rights and many others. So you can imagine if we are introducing the constitutional court to say it's going to enhance or protect human rights, but it's still going to operate with the same constitution that is limited. So our position as a constitutional court should be born out of a comprehensive review of the constitution and not a piecemeal approach where we just establish a constitutional court.
How level a constitutional court? Kana a court in its nature is complex. Ribuaka a judicial body which in the formation as per bill number 14 near 2025 it will be the highest court in the land, right, replacing the appeals court as the apex court in the country. But it's also going to be a court of first instance, which means that you can take cases directly to the constitutional court, which was previously not the case with the appeals court. So how buaka di kgantse di ntseng jana? O tshwantse gore re rutuntshe Batswana gore what does the current court system look like? What are our judicial processes looking like? And how do they affect Botswana? What are the shortfalls in that? And how will the constitutional court in and of itself facilitate improvements where there are shortfalls that exist in the current process? The challenge that we have now, which has been debated and negotiated by pundits and citizens alike, does the Constitutional Court warrant an individual constitutional amendment? Molao motheo ke so se botlhokwa. Ra dumalana ba rotlhe gore molao motheo wa rona o tshwanetse gore o harologane. That's why I believe the last 3 heads of state have made steps towards amending the constitution. We know in the previous administration, the Dibotelo Commission that was set up, it's a presidential commission of inquiry, dubbed the Dibotelo Commission because of the former Chief Justice Dibotelo Naichera.
The organization's stance or point of contention is with the process through which the Constitutional Court was introduced. The bill was introduced before Parliament, before public inputs were sought. And we believe that any review to the Constitution should be preceded by public consultations, because really a review of any nature on the Constitution should be people-centered and people-led. I think comprehensive civic education. A constitutional court. Batswana ba tshwanetse gore ba rutiwe mo go tseneletseng gore judiciary ya Botswana e ntse jang, e shota ha kae, constitutional court ke eng, what are its pros and what are its cons. So really the way the deliberations should be structured should be less of the government telling Botswana of its decisions, but educating them on the Constitutional Court, the Constitution review process, the pros and cons, and allowing Botswana to now comment from a point or a position of being informed.
One of the biggest criticisms of that process, a presidential inquiry, a presidential commission of inquiry, is ill-suited for a constitutional review process because it inherently, the final say, with the executive branch of government. Now, a constitutional process is only ke batho botlhe, ke the executive, ke the legislature, ke batho ba di court, ke batho ba mekgatlo, ke batho ba direla puso, ba bereki ba private sector, bana ba dikolo, comprehensively. In fact, Ibile, as part of the commission's review, the commission's report on the review, Bane ba supa gore about 37% of the issues in the Botswana dine di sa amane le dikgang tsa molao motheo. There were issues tse leng gore di ka addressiwa with regular legislative reform. So ha o tsamaya e bo wa go botsa batho gore lo akantse yang ka kgang e be ba ere ba go araba ba sa le ba gantsa kgang yo ba e boditseng go supa gore thutego ha ya direga.
I think first, because there was some sort of consultation, let me just say that that is something that people were consulted, but I wish it could have been bigger, like a bigger scale. I think they were too limited. I think they started immediately when it came from Christmas around January. So for me, I think they were limited. For a bigger issue like this, maybe there could have been maybe a whole year of a thorough, deep into the inner of Botswana, so that almost every person has had the opportunity to at least understand what this thing is.
We should have started by educating people so that they understand what is the constitution and then what are the structures that need to apply that constitution.
Our friends at the civil society organizations led by Bokongo, I think even with the previous administration, they tried to advise that for an issue like this, maybe the government should not be at the forefront. They give civic education, they give the training on issues of the constitution to the civil society. I would like to have seen it that way, not the state president and other ministers going around. I think I would have going around still, yes, with government, but I would really have wanted to see the civil society at the forefront, be the ones that are sort of canvassing or teaching people on the constitution. So that would have been preferable, because then that is a people's views, because we want to believe civil society represent the people's views. So maybe if they would have supported the civil society with funding and they let them run with civic education, it would have been more effective.
In any democracy, opposition parties, the media, unions and civic societies serve as watchdogs. Their responsibility is not only to challenge government proposals, but to inform the public responsibly. The question remains, how can political debate avoid becoming political distortion, causing confusion and manipulation?
Ha kang eka thago kana ibile ya se mo mapoteng ya hela motho wa ba ithoboga ba bsolotse constitutional court e gona motho a sa ikuela go yone ka bo yone e gona go bitsa kgang right kwano ke te ke ibone wa o ka re sengwe ga se tsamaye sentle. Constitutional court e letela mo go teng a petition go taba bontse o kwa ga mo o kwala ka segalo o bua sello sa gago ka go sa tsewa ga se application. Petition a ba di affidavit wa kwala ela ka o ka kwala o mela ka go constitutional court registrar wa constitutional court o ta tsa aba bona ha ile gore o tshwantse go ranolwa fulaganya go ranolwa o iswe go se go ega mitsi bo goki ke gore go batwe ba bueledi ba ba sa duelweng ke ba ba ta lebella kgang ya gago ba bo ba thomamisa gore e tla gapele ga ba tsereganyi. Constitutional court e go sa dilo jana. Constitutional court e himela ditshwanelo tsa batho jana.
There are many untruths that are told about the Constitutional Court project, and I can list only 10 of them if I have the time within the 4 minutes. One, that the court is actually justified by a sheer number of pending constitutional cases. One cabinet minister actually told me that he said there were more than 1,000 constitutional court cases. That's not true, you know that, I know it. Right now we know one that's before the court right now. So that is an untruth. There's also the untruth that there is no constitutional court at the moment. Untrue. The Constitution establishes the higher court as a court for redressing constitutional questions. There's also the untruth that the election petition of 2019 was lost because there was no constitutional court. You know, that's not true. There's also the claim that the Concord will grant rights. And especially smaller chiefdoms, smaller kingdoms, smaller tribal groupings are looking and say, oh, let's support it because it's going to grant rights. Tell them it is not true because you know it's not true.
Lo society o Botswana go dilo a reng di leng teng ba ganne constitutional court ba ne ba bua maloba go bula the legal year bo Congo e leng gore emetse ma go kwa ikemetseng ka no le bona ba gana constitutional court le go tala dikereke le leng gore le emetse lona dikereke tsa lona le lona le gana constitutional court ba re ba bata a comprehensive constitutional review go go banka mo constitution yo ha mo minister ata bua o ta ba le bolela gore to be an independent institution. Ita ba ikemetse ka nosi ita di tshwetso ita go ba go pediwe ke ope mme seo se ka tswa se sena nnete thata mo teng ka gore constitutional court di judge tsa teng tsotlhe di appointwa ke gore tautona o na le role ya player ka gore o etelela pele ke chief justice o appointwa ke tautona deputy chief justice le ene go appointwa ke tautona then judicial service commission e leng gore ita ba e appointa di judge tse dingwe le yone e appointwa ke tautona motho a le one hela mo teng ke o leng gore o tswa go law society go ra gore rona rena le letshogo la gore constitutional court ka ga e dilweng ka teng le sa rerisiwa le sa neelwa sebaka sa go le agele mo teng ya go heleletsa e le tsenye mo mathateng ya gore e tabo e tshwana le a mahatshe a mangwe a re bapileng le ona e leng gore tshwetso e batliwang ke goromente ga o ya court ya go rula e dumelana le goromente
re le Bokongo kana re le makgotlana a go ikemela ka bonosi we are a political institutions go re ga re tse letlhakore mo go tsa sepolotiki le ha o itlhala re na le stance on a certain issue of national importance that is just to safeguard democratic principles and the interests tsa batho so sa ntlha hela mo processing e tshwana le e leng gore it has potential to be political. It is our responsibility as civil society organizations, as the union, as the kereke, to make sure that each and every information that we communicate to Botswana is factual and most importantly balanced. Maybe le gape ngwe ke tshwaelele gore our core mandate re lo ne makalana ke go rutuntsha Botswana go ira mo go teng civic education. Mme in the civic education e ke dumelang gore re ntse re tsweletse ra ira even in this process we are doing, we should ensure that it is unbiased. Ke gore ke go hitisa facts of the matter as they are. Go rutuntsha Motswana go gae ka the constitutional court, the constitution review process, and leaving room for them to interrogate and take a position.
Khanza Mulao are inherently political. You cannot divorce them from the politics. When it gets to the legislative level, political. However, the constitutional process, Kaboyone, is meant to be a nation-building activity because Molamoteo or Governor Hore, the people that have power, what do they owe to the people that have given them power? Right? And so, as the ruling party, they need to be aware Hore, Lebone, they won't always be in power, as the previous ruling party experienced. Even when the previous ruling party were in power, they needed to recognize that they won't always be in power. Even if the current opposition comes into power, they need to recognize that sometime they won't be. And so if you politicize the outcomes of it, when you are inevitably not in that space anymore, right? Because Botswana is a democracy, one of the oldest in the continent, right? When you're not in that space anymore, you are no longer protected by the structures that have been set up in that space. So, in a collective nation-building activity. But the process is important because we should not be changing the constitution every year, right? Honana, we are operating on a colonial constitution. Constitution are like 1963, 63 or 65. Okay, it predates our nation. I get. So the people in the nation haven't had an opportunity to shape the world.
When government enters a space, when a minister enters a space, in Botswana, you have seen it at a quarter, we stand up, there's too much formality, and so that in itself then is them coming to tell people, so that there's a difference. there's a power imbalance there. So that is why I think government should have stayed out of maybe coming as part of the civil society, just being invited to say something and go, but the whole consultation, the back and forth, be led by Congo. I mean, they represent a lot of organizations. I don't have the numbers, but that gives them the mandate to be able to help government with that, just as government has trusted civil society in other aspects to help them. So when it comes to political parties, yes, unfortunately, political parties are there to compete. The next process, because we are thinking of the referendum now, they're going to compete, they're going to canvass for votes. That's their mandate. As a political party, you want to be a step further than another political party. So there, I don't know how to say to them that do not compete, because they compete for state power, they compete for power. So I'll talk to government.
They need to ensure that they play a fair game, right? Not to abuse state media, to push the political campaign before it is time to campaign for the referendum, to not conflate issues to constitutional court with issues of government, because Ghana, there's a difference between the UDC and the government. Again, these are two separate entities. So the UDC should also be able to separate itself from government procedures as it campaigns for its yes vote, but it also has the mandate to educate Botswana gore me molao motho khote yang go amana le dio tsa molao motheo ra re ya go ira yana lona Botswana lo ka itseela tshwetso gore a mmelo a dumalana kana lo dumalane mme re kopa gore lo dumalane. Again, so that's where the conversation has to happen. And I think the challenge, or where we find ourselves now, is that the process has been rushed. Again, the statement from government is that there were consultations already done through the Debutelo Commission and Botswana ba rile ba batla Constitutional Court, and so they're using those consultations as a metric to implement this as one of their manifesto promises.
For us as an advocacy group, what we can do is to encourage journalists to report or make balanced reports, and we do this by sometimes we write articles in other newspapers so that we advise journalists how to report on such issues, especially very critical national issues. There should always be a balance in reporting national issues. So this is what we do. We encourage journalists to report fairly, and we make sure that their stories are balanced. And we also sometimes we hold workshops so that people understand issues from a point of expert, so that when they report, they're able to make balanced reports, they're able to report fairly, they're able to make in-depth reports.
When it comes to influencing their members on subjects or topics like this, now my observation is that there is very little influence, because mostly when you get to the pulpit or in front of people, you are preaching, wa nyadisa, wa homotsa, you are counseling. So there isn't that much space to influence people on a subject like this. Currently, what influences our members is politics. So what kerekeng, most of them are already affiliated. Most of our members, we have a high number of civil servants in Botswana. They are already influenced by the position of their union. And then some belong to certain tribes. They've already indicated their position. Those welcome remarks, how you can tell which side Muholo is leaning. So people come, they are already influenced by their Kosikolo. So Ronao Zanagokeri King, we hardly talk about it, and we try to be neutral, because we know that the moment you try to push a certain position, there might be that accusation that Moruti is leaning on this side. So we try to shy away from discussing these issues. As a way of keeping the flock intact, we just say, okay, I might have my own view, but we're not going to talk about it.
We encourage journalists in such situations that they consult legal experts, because as journalists, we are not legal experts ourselves. We need to consult those who have the know-how in these technical issues. So we encourage journalists to always consult or to always seek legal advice from those who know the law. And as MISA, I think beginning of this year or late last year, we organized a workshop with the Commonwealth Group to educate journalists on how to report such issues on legal issues or constitutional issues. This is where we had an expert like Kidingak, who advised or informed journalists how to go about these issues. And it was, I would say it was a very fruitful workshop, because a lot of journalists came and attended the workshop, and they learned a lot about how the Constitution is made, how people are supposed to be consulted, and how they are supposed to respond to such issues.
It's important for the opposition to frame this as a national conversation by setting a standard what they are asking for. So opposition has resources that the civil society probably doesn't, right? So the opposition should be on the leading foot. Ya go educate Botswana gore mola motho o tshwantse gore o hetolwe yang, and the benefits and non-benefits of the Constitutional Court again. So they also need to live by that standard of providing meaningful education to Botswana about what this means. And this should precede their no campaign, because obviously given the 50-15 vote Constitutional Court last week, there's going to be a no campaign. It's not unanimous in government. So when the referendum comes, there will be those campaigning for yes and those campaigning for no. But it's imperative on us, as non-state actors, re hold the opposition accountable. How do you ensure, how are you ensuring, how are you currently ensuring batho ba dikgaolo tsa lona they are represented by 60% of the electorate, because the ruling party got 37% of the electorate. So they are represented by 60% of the electorate. How do you educate them about even the things that you don't agree with? Not just the things that you agree with. How do you give them the agency to make their own decision?
As a leader, you know you carry a lot of influence. And but you are also cautious that that influence should not sway people in a direction other than the direction that God wants them to. I'm saying this because I attend a lot of pastors' meetings, church meetings, including the BTV one that you saw. I rarely hear anybody adumalana kosasa adumalana on the basis of the Bible. People will just be sharing their own opinions, like adumalana, dumalane, but kana ha le moruti o le mokereki o tshwantse gore o dumalane kgotsa o sa dumalane based on the Holy Book. But for a pastor who is not a lawyer, was not exposed to legal issues, this is something new. And when something is new, there is a lot of brohaha. Go go tabo go nna modumo ba bangwe ba dumalana ba bangwe ba sa dumalane ba bangwe ba ntsha matha bona ba bangwe maikutlo a kukega. So usually baruti ke batho ba ba bonolo ba ba boi ga ba rate go tsena mo dikganyeng tse di ka thubang phuthego. So now I would say to a pastor friend of mine who genuinely asks me, go na le dithuto tse dingwe go khoteng tse dingwe go UB. We see some other body trust and other bodies bata ba phutha ba itsana be bata ba bua ka khanye. When you see such meetings, allow your members to go and attend, because at the end of this journey, there will be a referendum, yes or no. and your members are voters, they are registered voters, ba go top. Your vote should carry weight. How go top hela, korosa ituro topeline. So now I would advise a colleague pastor to allow the members to attend these meetings. Or alternatively, abite mo dikerking go na le di lawyer, go na le batho ba ba itseng di lecturer. You can call them and do a panel, and then they come and teach.
So, the first major risk, and this one, ke lebagantse le Botswana, ke gore, as the governed, we cannot allow the people that govern us to change the constitution whenever they want, with impunity. The constitution is meant to be senela ruri. So ha mongwe le mongwe o tsana kana gompieno, this current administration, either a constitutional amendment, the previous administration, either a constitutional amendment. Will the next administration do the same? And the one after? So we cannot allow without contest gore batho ba ileng gore re ba hile tetla ya gore busa, re ba adimile di resources tsa rona as a nation gore ba etelle pele ditshwanelo tsa rona, gore ebe ba kgona go tsaya ditshwetso gore mme re change gore ditshwanelo tsa lona di bona jang. So we need to ensure first and foremost that as Botswana, we do not allow anyone to just change the constitution. Hosena any kore jaaka ha batla ha ke tsora wa ntswara akere kore ha ba tshwanela gore ba itirelle mo molao motheong. There are other laws that can be changed along gore di ka facilitate some of these processes. So that's the biggest risk, because re engage le Botswana, and the bulk of Botswana ba ileng gore re engage le bone, from highly educated people to just the young people in general, have no idea how important the constitution is, let alone a constitutional court. But now it's a lot of court in Musakisi get court in Mubuzulo, Hosana like a why like a Karangi court again. So since as Botswana, Retusan Hotalohanya, willing Bakani, because as a Hanye Motrofo, it talks to what our nation is going to look like. The risk of the political parties polarizing the issue. Ba etsa ba bangwe ba re khote ha e tlhokagala ka mantlha ba bangwe ba re khote e tlhokagala ka mantlha ke gore it then becomes a divisive process. Re ranto mo lapeng akere kana mo go moneng ha re lebile hanka e cause nkopile gore ke simplify hanka e simplify thata re ka re akanya re le mo mererong akere go tla bo malome ba ba harologaneng bo malome ba teng ba rumile tiro e wana gore bo malome tsamang lo nyadisa akere me bo gonna le bo malome ba ba dumelang gore nya mme gware o ateng pholoso e diriwe ko gaborone ba bangwe ba re diriwe ko motšhudi akere. Those people still have the same goal. Yaanong ha ba re na ebile ha ile gore ya motšhudi ha ke tsene ha ile gore ya gaborone ha ke tsene e kgaoganya process ha e tswelele akere. So tshwantse gore ha re bua ka molao motheo, despite our differing views, we still need to ensure it's a nation building exercise. So the risk ya go create the systemic division tse leng gore di crack tsa teng ha re go di bona rona re le teng di a go bonagala bana ba rona ba ntse ba le teng mo botshelong wa bona. And this has shown in many different contexts and jurisdictions where if the constitutional development process is not a unified one, you are basically sowing the seeds of conflict ko pele. Botswana has been a relatively conflict-free nation. I get re sa balele dikgatelelo tsa bomme ba tshelang ka tsone mo lefatsheng, because that is the most significant conflict that we experience on a year domestic. But we are sowing the seeds of future discourse where they can like really break our nation apart, and that's the biggest risk if we overly politicize the issue.
We are a champion for civic education. Even in the constitution review process, re dirisana le one makgotlana affiliate le rona kana maloko a rona re le Bokongo go pegela ko ba leng teng ko Botswana, re make sure gore molaetsa wa hitlhella mme ebile se go hitlheletsa molaetsa kgotsana dithuto e le balanced, neutral, civic education ya ka ke buile re sa tse letlhakore. So sa ntlha hela we are leveraging our members to reach Botswana at every corner wherever they are. Mme ebile re netefatsa le gore molaetsa kana dithuto di tse re di ntshang ga re tse letlhakore, we are neutral in everything that we do. Sa bobedi, we do what is called watchdog. Re lebeletse gore me yaka di-stakeholder di le dintsi yaka o setse o tshwaetsegana. There are many different stakeholders that I believe are conducting civic education in their own respective corners. Re lebeletse le gone as o riding on our watchdog role gore mme gone dithuto tse di tswang ko Batswaneng a ga se dithuto tse e leng gore bongwe di ka haposa kana ke go leka thuso e Motswana to take a certain position, of which if that is the case, we will be in a position to call those stakeholders to order.
Botswana kgang ya constitutional court e ntšha ka gore ke selo se sešwa o modumo, mme a go le modumo o tshwanetse gore wena o itse gore o tshwanetse gore o tlhaloganye kgang e gore pele ga wa go thopa bo o itse gore gone sente ke eng ke thopa e kana nya ga gona le dithuto kgotsa meetings a go reetsa. Ebile malatsing a gona le batho ba ba rutang hela mo maranyaneng di-podcast, batho ba bitsa metsi a nape a ruta le di-podcast, go na le di-panel discussion, go na le the-trust and other civic organizations.
I advise Botswana to inform themselves about this animal they call the Constitutional Court. They should research more, make a comparative analysis of what happens in other countries, how they have come to establish such a court. It is a very important court, by the way, but we need time to understand. Botswana need time to understand what it is. How does it work? What are the advantages and disadvantages? And from that informed position, now they can be able to make a correct decision.
Actually, we are the ones that are going to decide as citizens. I mean, there are other processes that have happened before, but the last decision is going to be with us. And I think I'll just employ Botswana that we've never had a process like this. In our generation, we have not seen it. I mean, maybe our parents, but yeah, the Constitution talks, I think they started around the 50s, they concluded in the 60s. Most of us were not here, but even if some were here, but this is a renewal. I mean, at a time when democracy everywhere is challenged. So if there's a renewal like that and it's upon us to contribute to history of Botswana, we should do it well so that we do it for even the next generations. When they come and review 60, 70 years later, they should find a paper that had reflected the hopes of Botswana. And if they review it, they just review 1, 2, 3 things. They don't throw it out and think, what were these people doing? So our personal interest, our personal political ambitions should not be found in the paper.
Kana referendum, ke ditlhopho akere ke ditlhopho hela ya ka tsa 2024. The only difference is on the ballot go tle bo gona le potso e bo go te yes or no. Right now we do not know what that question will be, akere, but we can assume generally what it would be. Should we like some version of should we establish or do you agree with the establishment of a constitutional court, akere? And the options will be yes and no. Now, for either one of them to then become a law where the head of state, 50% plus 1. So I know go tlhophile batho ba le 10 mo lehatsheng. I know ba le 6 ba re A. Ha gore sepe gore and ke ra literally 10. I kere as an example, I know go tlhophile batho ba le 10. I know gore 6 ba re A. Gore la gore 6 o bueletse lehatsi lohle. So the first and most important thing is go and vote. That's the first issue, because the decision will be made regardless of whether you vote or not. So go and vote. That's your right, use it. The responsibility we have as Botswana is inform yourself. Hore me ha ke a go tlhopha ke a gore yes or ke a gore no. Ke dumalana leng kana ke ganetsana leng. The Constitutional Amendment Bill establishing Constitutional Court in a little clause 20. Just 20 clauses. I get it. You can go through those clauses. Ha ile gore ha o kgone go tlhaloganya tsenya mo ChatGPT we botse gore wa tengoga. We need to look beyond party lines. I get it. Whether ke mo BNF, mo AP, mo BPP, mo BCP, mo BDP, mo BPF is secondary to the fact that ke Motswana. I get it. And kgang ya molao motheo re bua ya nong ka kgang ya Botswana. Right? So o tshwantse gore o ye go tlhaloganya pele gore mme o inisa gore a mme tshwetso ke tsa ka ntlha ya gore ra busa kana ke tsa ka ntlha ya gore ha ke batle ba ba busang ba kgona.
They spoke, we listened. Let's think independently, seek our own truth, and make informed decisions about Constitutional Court, free from political influence. Remember, democracy is not about being asked, it is about being free to decide.